Errol wanted us to look at Pan-Africa. And I really hope all these requests of gold shares are because they already have the gold shares in their portfolio and not because they want to buy now, because I think you are too late. Errol, the momentum to the top is clearly in place. And we can see even with Pan-Africa, just like the gold price, last week's spinning candle, and I would prefer this candle to have a little bit of longer shadows, but clearly indecision in last week's weekly candle on Pan-Africa. And again, that tells me that the buyers and sellers are looking each other in the eye and they want to see what they want to do with this price. Now, again, this week's candle is not finished yet. This will only be finished by Friday, but this might be a possible hammer candle. Now, a possible hammer or a hanging man, depending on what the real body will look like at the end of Friday, tells me that the clue of the action will be in the next candle. So a hammer normally either hits out new highs or start to hit out a preparation for new lows. So Errol, your confirmation would be in the next candle to see what you want to do with Pan-Africa and to see if the sellers are going to start to sell off this stock, or are the buyers going to come in and lift this share price to higher levels. Yes, it is overbought. We can see, despite the fact that it's overbought, we can see that the indicator, the Williams R indicator on Pan-Africa, still shows that the momentum to the top is in place. First sign of weakness will be below 2.35 Rand, and remember this is a weekly graph. So below 2.35 Rand, that would be my first sign of warning to say maybe it's time to take profit. The long-term sentiment towards Pan-Africa is still positive. Why? Because it's still consolidating above that 40-week moving average. And we can see that the 40-week moving average treated this share very well in the past. And it's almost a moving average that the share price obeys. Like it found either strong support or strong resistance and then retraced from it. So Errol, keep an eye on that 2.35 Rand level. Otherwise, I think this next strong resistance is clearly there at 2.84 Rand, 3.09 Rand, and then keep an eye on your indicators because I think maybe we'll have a pullback first. Jenna wanted us to look at clicks. Also, one of our favorites of the market and has been for a while. I mean, back in 2016, I mean, this stock traded around 79 Rand and now it's at 197 Rand. The momentum is clearly to the top in place. But there's a thing about on clicks, Jenna, that is a bit of a concern at the moment. And that is the fact that for twice now, in May 2018, as well as now year around June 2019, the share found resistance there around 219 Rand 51 twice. And we know that and I'm saying a possible double top. And we know that a possible double top will be confirmed when this neckline changes into a resistance. And the target of the formation will be the length of one of these legs projected downwards from the level of confirmation there of the neckline. So yes, you can either use it there, you can use that neckline there, or you can maybe even take this one lower and use this neckline here and say that might be a possible double top. So it really depends. You should count your real bodies or shadows, see where they found support, and then make a call on which strong levels you want to use. More importantly, the share is approaching the 40-week moving average at a rapid pace. And we can see last week it came to it. It almost tested it there around 192 Rand 19, but managed to find a little bit of support and is just hovering there above it. Jenna, when Klerk starts to consolidate below 192 Rand 42 on a weekly close, I would be concerned about it. More importantly, when it starts to consolidate below that 40-week moving average, the long-term sentiment towards Klerk will change to negative. And then this neckline would become my key indicator. When the share starts to consolidate below this 170 Rand 89, the possible double top will then be confirmed, and then I would be very nervous to see maybe this double top would be able to take this share around 130 Rand, 128 Rand. So keep an eye on this 40-week moving average, see what the share does around it. The warning or the negativity of this possible double top will only be wiped off the table, Jenna, when Klerk starts to consolidate above 219 Rand 50 again. When it starts to consolidate above it, you can give a sigh of relief and feel a little bit more comfortable with it. But at the moment, I'm raising my eyebrows for clicks. Kevin wanted us to look at ShopRite. We know this week they reported some disappointing results, and we can clearly see that investors did not like the news, and I mean, it's just the one sell-off after the other. Now, here in April 2019, we felt a little bit optimistic about ShopRite, and because of this long descending channel, and when the shares started to change this upper band of that descending channel into a support, it gave us a little bit of hope and say maybe this descending channel will take the share price to higher levels. But we can see in the week of the 6th of May 2019, again the 13th of May, as well as the 18th of June, every time the share tested that red line, the 40-week moving average, it could not find enough buyers to lift it above it, and it just continued to retrace, and which implies that the sellers were fierce and that they were keen to sell off the stock within every bounce. At the moment, the share is back within this descending channel, but at the moment, it's like trying to catch a falling knife. We must wait for the share to find a base, to stop making lows, and then look for a turnaround candle or a possible turnaround formation to identify that the sellers have dried up and that the buyers have started to come in and start to accumulate the stock again. We can see on our Williams R indicator, it's still extremely oversold. It hasn't even lifted its head yet. So at the moment, the momentum to the top is clearly in place. So Kevin, wait for the share to find a base and then start to accumulate. At the moment, it's making new lows. It's trading around the same levels it did here in January 2016. So maybe, just maybe, because if we look at history, that's a clear level of support that the share can find, say, listen, maybe the buyers will see value here and will start to accumulate this share. Because that's exactly what it did in January 2016. It found support here around 125 Rand 38, and then it just escalated back to around 280. So Kevin, let's just see what the share does. At the moment, the momentum to the bottom is clearly in place. Keith wanted us to look at Kumba. And I call this share the share on steroids because sometimes Kumba just ignores all indicators and just rallies to a side despite what anything says. So at the moment, Kumba is approaching the 40-week moving average fast. It's the 40-week moving average is waiting there around 390 Rand and 8 cent. And technically, on a weekly graph, when Kumba starts to consolidate below that 390 Rand and 8 cent on a Friday close, that means that it implies that the long-term sentiment towards this share will change to negative. Yes, and there is a possible double top, and I want to draw that in for our viewers, or maybe a lower high, because that resistance is a lot higher than this one. So let's rather call it a lower high. That will be confirmed when that strong neckline or trend line changes into a resistance. And yes, you can use the conservative length of this leg and project it downwards, which means that Kumba can go back to around 310 Rand if the formation is confirmed and the full formation plays out. Remember, Keith, a formation doesn't have to play out completely to its target. Maybe it finds support before that. What makes the possibility of that play out highly unlikely is the fact that it is so oversold. The so oversold means that the probability of the buyers to come and support the share is more likely. It's more probable that they will start to support this share and buy it for higher levels. But at the moment, I'm approaching that 40-week moving average fast, and that is the line in the sand, 390 Rand and 8 cent. Below it, I will be uncomfortable and start to feel nervous about Kumba. Where can it go? Because that's normally the question viewers want to know. Where can it go? And we can use this trend line here to identify where Kumba can go to. So yes, the first target is obviously the target of that double top. And let's just maybe identify that length. Let's just highlight that length and see whether it can take it. If I take the length of that, yes, look how beautiful. I love technical analysis. All right, the length of that left leg projected downwards will take Kumba almost exactly to that strong trend line. And maybe I should just draw this trend line in a little bit better. So there's two touching points. along with this one, so that will make it 3. So even if I just lift it a little bit, I've got 1, 2, 3, okay, 4. So this trend line is a lot stronger. So we can see that the share might find strong support here again, like it did here in December 2018, and then lift it to higher levels. So a strong trend line here at the bottom, a possible lower high, and my 40-week moving average. So Keith, you've got some nice indicators on Kumba to support you in your decision making. Roger wanted us to look at FirstRand. Beautiful dragon candle of last week. A dragonfly candle has got a long lower shadow at the bottom, and if this bullish engulfing candle remains a bullish engulfing candle this week, I will have a beautiful morning star formation. A morning star formation is a bearish engulfing candle, a dragonfly candle or a type of doji, and I can almost call this a dragonfly doji candle because that real body is so small, and then the bullish engulfing candle. Now we know when the sun rises in the morning, it's a new day. It's a new start. We can start afresh, and that is exactly what this formation means. That the selling pressure have dried up, that the buyers have come in, and that there is a beautiful turnaround formation for the share. So at the moment, Roger, I like the fact that this is a possible morning star formation. Confirmation will be above 59 Rand 95. The instrument, the FirstRand, is nicely oversold. It has already broken upwards. And again, that minus 50 land on your Williams R indicator is a critical key, because when the indicator changed that minus 50 level into a support, it means the momentum to the top can escalate. So that is a beautiful story for FirstRand, and we know it's been consolidating in a base, in a consolidation base. It has been stuck in it for a while. And maybe the share will start to move back into that consolidation base, which means it can easily then go into the consolidation and go and test these strong resistance levels that it couldn't change into a support in the past, which would be very nice. Obviously, the 40-week moving average is a line in the sand. Above it, the long-term sentiment will change to positive. But Roger, I think this is nice. It looks beautiful for FirstRand. I'm optimistic here. I think if they can keep this level around 59 Rand and 5 cent, at least the support, this might be it can give you another bounce on FirstRand. Let's have a look at the Rand dollar, because I know a lot of our viewers use the Rand dollar to make business decisions, and some wants to maybe use it to diversify and take some funds offshore. And the first line in the sand on the USD dollar was that 40-week moving average, and above that trend line on the symmetrical triangle, the weakness in the Rand might continue. So we will assume that as long as the Rand remains above 15 Rand and 9 cents, that the weakness in the Rand will continue. Only when the Rand starts to consolidate below that 15 Rand and 9 cents can we expect more strength in the Rand. So 15 Rand 9 cents is your critical level on the Rand. Hope you enjoyed the show. Please feel free to visit our website. See you soon. Cheers.